Warning: the following program contains adult language, adult themes, and spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of This Week's Episode. I'm your host this week, Karen Randazzo, and with me as always is Madman with a Box, Kris Randazzo.
I only came for the dancing.
2,000-year-old plastic centurion, Evan Goldstein.
Never ignore a coincidence unless you're busy.
And complicated fiancé, Angie Fernot.
You wouldn't answer your phone.
This is episode 270 for the week of October 25th, 2023. By the time you hear this, me, will be a whole year older, and so in honor of my birthday tonight, we will be discussing my favorite episode of my favorite show, Doctor Who Season 5, Episode 13, The Big Bang. But before we get to that, here's your weekly reminder that you can get in touch with us at mail@geekade.com. Tell us your favorite episode of your favorite show. Tell us your favorite doctor. Tell us your favorite kind of hat. Tell us anything you want. Just put this week's episode in the subject line, because we always want to hear from you, the listener. So, how's everybody doing?
I wear a fez now. Fezes are cool.
God damn it!
The single listener. Hello, sweetie. There were so many lines that I wanted to use, and I love the part when he's like, "Oh yes, it's right in front of me. I'll get it. It's right in front of me. Come on, Rory." Like,
yeah, I think you probably are.
That was, God, so many good moments.
So we did both episodes, right? Like we all watched.
Yes.
Both of them. Okay, just make
we all
right,
watched
we'll
both
talk about
parts
that
of the two-parter.
I just want you to
Yes.
know, I'm ready to skip right to that and just talk about that because, God.
I'm mildly upset with you because now I have to, like, it has been a long time since I've watched a show that I was like, yeah, now I want to do a rewatch.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of Doctor Who, because I'm going to go back to Eccleston. So.
Sorry?
We'll talk about it later. But yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah.
What's up, people?
Oh, what's going on? I am about to be another year older, and I'm about to spend the whole weekend of that happening at, like, 8 different cheerleading events.
So with your birthday, you've decided to become a cheerleader?
You picking up the pom-poms?
Is that what we're doing?
I am actually arranged for the cheerleaders to be cheering about me.
So is that a midlife crisis for a female? Is that what happens? You don't know no super, like, not a sports car or a boat. You just say, I'm going to be a cheerleader now?
You hire a squad of cheerleaders and they follow you around.
I just promised them a bunch of candy, and they were like, yeah, we'll get in the van.
That's how I know I'm going to lose my wife.
Oh, Karen's aging gracefully.
Yeah, no, our daughter is become a cheerleader this year at 7 years old, and that means the morning of my birthday, I need to get up at an ungodly hour so she could be at a cheer competition by 8:15 a.m.
Gross.
Well,
yeah,
someone's going to be chipper. I'm not betting on you.
And there will be Starbucks or there will be blood. So, take your pick.
Why not both?
Why not
Honestly.
both?
Use the Starbucks to fuel the violence. Make the violence more efficient.
I don't know that I'll be allowed in the cheerleading competition if I perpetuate that much violence, but,
I'd like to see them stop.
that sounds like a
killing
win-win.
two birds with one stone. Look, you fuckers made me get up this early. On a weekend.
Yes. This is why we incite violence. Well, I am excited for you to not be excited, I guess. But also, I hope that you do get to have other fun birthday shenanigans.
Yeah, we'll do something. It's not like a big birthday or anything.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna, because I've been peep showing into your guys' lives via Facebook, I saw that you, Karen, did a ridiculous Halloween thing where the Sean Doyle was wearing a ridiculous blow-up costume, and Mr. Randazzo went and made me exceptionally jealous to go travel and see a live performance.
Yes,
So
I'll be chatting about that when it's my turn.
So we need to start getting into that. Let's start diving in, because I need to know. I need to live vicariously, people. Like that's
Well, the Halloween thing is an annual thing we have around here called Witchcraft, which is basically Beer Fest plus Halloween.
so a lot of
You
kids.
pay, yes, you pay a lot of money for a ticket, and then they have 80 something vendors. Alcohol vendors of different breweries, distilleries. There may have been wine. I didn't have any wine. And like craft vendors and things like that. And also like performances, Halloween costume contest, pumpkin pie eating contest, a DJ, all kinds of things.
Nice.
And I went pre-COVID for my 40th, and this is the first year I've been able to go back. It's an amazing time. You just go out in the woods with your friends and get drunk like a bunch of idiots. We were hanging out beforehand, and a friend of ours was there, and he was like, "I'm not going to go. It's too much money and too much work, like, because they only give you a tiny sample at each booth. Like, you have no idea how quickly this stuff hits you."
Oh yeah, there used to be like a drinking game. Like you can either, if whoever can, like it's like 12 shots of beer is the equivalent to X kind of thing, and when you're shooting it down faster, yeah, that shit hits you harder, quicker.
Yeah, it's like doing a power hour.
Yeah.
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 For those of you who are Kris and don't know about drinking, that's when you take a shot every hour, a shot of beer, not a shot of alcohol, because then you die. But yeah, and I mean, you're not like drinking like as fast as you can, but like, you go to a tent, you stand in a line, it's like 10 people deep. You get to the front, you get your drink, you drink it, you go to the next tent, and it's like that's what you do all night.
Puke and repeat.
It was also a rain or shine event, and it was pouring rain.
Oh, boo.
But it's rain or shine, and as I said, very expensive. We also got our own jitney to take us there and back, which was another expense. So after putting out all this money, we're like, F it, we're drinking in the rain.
Yeah.
I think we only lost like one person, and it was because they had to work, not because of the weather.
You left them in the woods?
No, they didn't go. Silly.
Okay.
No survivors.
But yeah, and like I guess that was Sean's idea of a waterproof costume, was just to get an inflatable.
If I'm not mistaken, it looked like his legs and the inflatable upper body. It looked like that person was holding him, because everything.
Yeah, it was like it's an alien abduction costume, so he looks like he's being carried away by an alien. And he said that he plans to. He owns stilts apparently, and he plans to put black cloth around the stilts and then wear the costume with the stilts so that it looks like he's really being sucked higher up into the air by the alien.
I like it a lot.
But he obviously didn't want to wear stilts in the woods in the rain while drinking copious amounts of alcohol.
But if anybody was to do it, it would be the easy Sean Doyle.
I was going to say, it sounds like a missed opportunity.
We did have a great time. Yeah.
Awesome.
We had a great time. We drank. We ate stupid food. We danced in the rain. There was, the typical amount of drama that comes along with a certain combination of people and a certain amount of alcohol. But it didn't ruin the night, so. Yeah. Witchcraft, if you are in the South Jersey area, I highly recommend it. It's a good time. It's worth it's worth splashing out on.
So, I mean, it sounds like they're doing a play on words there, because it's craft beers, I'm assuming, as well.
Yeah, it is craft beers. It's the longer name of the event is like, what do they call it? Witchcraft, a mystical encounter with brews and spirits. Get it? Because brews and beers and spirits is, alcohol.
What? Oh, my God. Thank you for explaining that.
Explain it.
You just, it's better if you explain
I'm glad I could improve that one for you guys. This is strange for me to be the one talking at the beginning of the podcast. Like, I went to the most exciting thing of all four of us. Like, that never happens.
I mean, like it. So what it was is looking at those photographs, and there was not a somber picture shown. Like, everybody looked like they were having a blast, and I'm glad that you got to go out and have a good time. That's it. It's very, very
that
simple.
was basically my birthday party. So
birthday shenanigans for the win.
Awesome sausage. Very happy for you.
Yes. So, any shenanigans on your end, guys?
What did we do?
What month is this?
We are in October.
October.
Halfway through October. I took a trip to Virginia to go see a friend.
Did we record before or after I left last time? Before, yeah?
Yeah, no, that's you. You had a big trip.
My mom got married.
Yay!
Hooray! Congratulations.
So I went up
Right?
to Dirty
Congratulations.
Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was pretty great.
Okay.
It was
Good,
a
good.
300 plus person wedding.
Wow.
Yep.
Holy shit, that's a big wedding.
So part of my gift to her was being there, but also the other part was
Yeah.
my brother and sister and I actually ran the wedding.
Wow.
So we
Into
made
the
sure-
ground.
You got to keep in mind when she says 300 person wedding, it was like a large party. So there was a lot of moving parts.
Yeah,
There was a
so
lot
this
of
wasn't a
wrangling going
typical
on.
wedding. Like, they landed in a helicopter to arrive.
What?
Yep.
They straight up did that shit, and then they got married on this little pavilion that I had to decorate, and it was just like a concrete slab with a bunch of rusty metal bars around it that I had to make pretty. And then that was kind of cute, though, because for the ceremony, the way that it worked is it was like up and raised a little off a hill, so a bunch of people just like stood on the hill and then around the pavilion, so everyone got to see it, and they had a speaker, so everyone got to hear it too.
Nice.
So I was one of the only people that was on there. I filmed the whole ceremony. Then they went down, and the rest of the wedding was a giant inflatable obstacle course, a dunk tank, petting zoo. They had multiple golf carts to drive around the property and explore. There was a volleyball court, like a volleyball net set up, and everybody played volleyball. There was, what else? Oh, an ice cream food truck kind of thing, but the ice cream was free. Like, it was just unlimited until they ran out. There was open bar, a pig roast with a guy doing a bunch of smoked barbecue and American cuisine, and there was a surprise guest that was...
So hold on. Before you say the surprise guest, okay, I couldn't go. I had to stay home, okay, because money, and Owen is we can't board him. We have to pay someone to take care of him because he's sick. So I
Surprise guest was Robot Evan.
I
Was the
stayed
surprise
home.
guest Owen?
No. Go ahead, honey. Who was the surprised guest?
Okay, so not to make it weird and political, but my parents, my now stepdad, his sister-in-law got him a surprise guest Trump impersonator. Yep,
Oh, Jesus.
that's right. Donald Trump was at my mom's wedding.
Donald Rump. It wasn't Donald Trump. It was an
Right.
impersonator.
Yeah, well, he did a very strong impersonation to the point where I actually had to really do a double take. So that was a thing.
I was so happy I stayed home. That would have been bad.
Yeah.
I would have punched an impersonator.
So I think
Wow.
they gave him
Probably
clear.
wouldn't be his first rodeo.
Yeah, I think they gave him clear instructions to stay away from me, which was really nice because I never had to have a single interaction with him.
Good.
But yeah, that was the thing I got to deal with. So, I was able to have a sense of humor about it because the guy did a damn good impersonation. I'm not going to lie. But it's still the everything he stands for, I hate. So, cool. Love that. But it was great. It was great to go see my family. It was great to be up there and help and make my mom's day special. And I love weddings, man. I really had like a 27 dresses
I do
moment.
too.
It's like, oh, so good. But yeah, that was, I guess that would be it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Worked
So
a
I
couple
didn't
of
do the
shows.
biggest thing. You did the biggest thing for sure.
Well,
Congratulations to your mom.
Thanks.
I mean, this is a long time coming. Like, I don't know why her and Kevin haven't been already married. Like, they've been together as long as I've known them, and
They were waiting for the perfect impersonator to come along.
it was,
I guess so.
the planets needed to align, I guess. But yes.
Well, what was great is every time she tells the story of how long they've been together, the number of years changes. It gets longer and longer. It's pretty great.
Cute.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. So TV.
All right.
So
Well,
TV.
honey, you do you want to kick it off with your big experience story?
Sure. I will kick things off.
that also ties into the TV.
Exactly.
does.
That's why I did
Exactly.
this.
Nice
So
segue.
my show, quote unquote show that I will be talking about is a live version of a show of one of my favorite TV shows. So they announced recently that the most of the members of The State, MTV's The State, my favorite sketch comedy show ever, is doing a live reunion tour. Sort of tour. It's only going to a couple of places so far, but I suspect there will be more of them. But they were doing a show in New York City on Monday night, and it was at the studio that they actually recorded the show in. It was at the studio. This is the same building that the show was actually recorded in, which was really cool. So a bunch of my friends and I got our shit together and made it happen. We all got tickets, including a ticket for Karen that didn't get used, which was very sad because it turned out to be on a school night and there just was no good way of getting us both there. And we weren't able to find another person to take that last ticket. But me and Sean and Paul and several Doyles, and it was just a whole wonderful extravaganza.
And your sister.
And my sister, yes, because my sister and I used to watch The State when we were kids, so there was no getting around me going to that with my sister, and she loved it. But yeah, we went out to New York. We went and met Sean at his. I drove, and we met Sean at his law office in Jersey City because Sean is a lawyer.
Wild to me. But continue. I apologize.
And we took the path into New York City, went there, and there was the show was outstanding. But before the show, we were standing, kind of looking around, and there was a merch table, right? Because how often do you see merch for The State? Never. There is no The State merchandise. But there were some T-shirts and hats. The shirts were great. The one that I got was the only one they had in fat person size, which was it was just the logo on a black T-shirt. But let me send you guys a picture of the favorite shirt that was there that I wished I could have gotten. Let's see, where's that picture? Here we go. I'm gonna send this to you guys right there, and it took me a second to get it. Like, I just had to actually look at it, and then, after a second of looking at it, it's like, yes.
United States Taco Service. Nice.
Amazing.
Yes, indeed. It's fantastic. And they had other shirts that were like the, the tour shirt, basically.
Right.
Like, the tour was called the Breaking Hearts and Dipping Balls tour.
Nice.
just wonderful. And the hat was the logo for the bearded men of Space Station 11.
This is
Just
God almighty. Now
Wonderful.
I want to rewatch that show. Son of a.
So, my friends, a couple of my friends went to get in line to wait at the merch table, and I was waiting for Paul to get out of the bathroom, and he was taking forever. So I was like, all right, heck with it. I'm going to go get in line because it's State merch. I know it's going to be expensive, but when am I going to be here again? When am I going to have this opportunity in my life again? So I get in line, and the line's kind of this big mess of people because you couldn't tell if it was a line for the merch table or a line to get into the actual auditorium.
Okay.
And so I'm standing there by myself at the end of the line, and this girl comes up behind me, and she's like, is this the line to get into the State? Or is this the line for the merch? Is this the line to get in there? And I said, I hope it's the line for merch because that's what I'm waiting for. And so we just kind of sat there and in line and hoped for the best. And as I am wont to do, struck up a conversation, as I always talk to strangers. And the two of us started talking about the state, how much we liked the state, and quoting sketches and stuff. And eventually, the conversation turned to the DVD release, and we were talking about how there's merchandise here, and isn't it great that there's actual merchandise? Because before that was like you can get the DVD sets, which are great. I'm so glad they exist, but a lot of the music was changed because of licensing issues, and that really hurts a lot of the sketches. So we transitioned to like talking about the sketches that we thought suffered the most from not having the original music in it, and we were going at that for a little while, and then this dude comes up behind us in line and says, "I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. Here," and he hands me a jump drive, and he said, "I said, what is this?" He said, "This is all of the original state episodes with all the original music restored." He basically did what I did to Syphil and Ollie to the state. He found the best quality recordings he could and made the audio match with audio that has all the correct music in it for the whole series. And me and that girl kind of freaked out, and then I got the attention of the other people that were waiting in line that were part of my crew and said, "Look what I got! Check this out! This man's an American hero." So he went to the previous state show that was like a couple weeks ago, I think, in Cleveland, I want to say, and he did the same thing there. It's just a pet project he was doing, and he thought if there was ever going to be anyone in the world that would appreciate what he was doing, it would be people at a show like this, and he wasn't wrong. So he only had like a small handful, like 5 or 6, to give out at the show. But he saw the two of us talking. He was like, "Yeah, you guys will appreciate this," and he was right. So what's wild is that before that happened, Paul and Sean were both talking to this guy in the bathroom. They happened to be in the bathroom with him at the time and struck up a whole conversation with him, and So we were all thanking him, and Paul and Sean were like, "Why is everyone thanking the friend we just made in the bathroom?" Because he gave me a jump drive. So I came home and I uploaded the jump drive to the Dropbox for Evan to put on the Plex.
It's there. All right. Good to know.
Oh yeah. It's that finished the day that I told you I was doing that. That's all up there. So you want to toss that into the Plex?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wouldn't replace the DVD one just for the sake of posterity and being able to compare and contrast the two. But I don't know what to call it.
I see, but when I just went looking to see what the highest available quality is, and there's multiple. Like, how many seasons was the state?
The state was 3 seasons.
Okay, because I just found one that broke it into 4, and I don't know why.
Well, there's 3 seasons, and then there's like other stuff. So it's all on the jump drive. There was like a CBS pilot that it didn't turn into a series. They left MTV to go to CBS, and then that completely fell apart, and thus ended the state. There was the state sketches and stickers, which was a standalone VHS release that had it was like a kind of a best of, but also it had like 3 or 4 unique sketches that were never aired on the TV show.
Okay.
Which is really cool. And then, goodness, there's other stuff too. There was like a pilot episode. So that's probably what the 4 season is probably all the other stuff, if I had to venture a guess. But
it's on its way. So,
well, yeah, there you go. I have, there's all the fixed, edited, the picture quality looks real nice as far as like what you could get out of the state, which has never been remastered in high definition or anything.
Which is crazy because most of the members of the state are still like well-known actors and actresses. Like, you would think that there's enough of a fan base for them to do a remastering.
It's all MTV. They don't care. It's all MTV. They would do a remaster if they had to fight tooth and nail just to get it released on DVD. Like, getting it remastered in high definition, like, they couldn't do it without without MTV's permission, and MTV does not give a shit about that property other than to be extra litigious about it and keep it under lock and key. Because MTV's the devil. But yeah. So the show itself was spectacular. It was all the original members of the state minus Mike Showalter, Ben Garant, and Todd. I don't know how to. Hollebeck, I think is how you say his last name.
Okay.
So it was all but 3. and it was a mixture of old sketches, and new sketches with old characters. So they opened up with this ridiculously over-the-top, like, battle sequence-filled origin story of the Jew, the Italian, and the redhead gay, which was just wonderful. They did. I mean, I don't think I'm going to remember everything they did, but they did the taco sketch, which was really interesting to see them do live on stage. Like, they wheeled out a mailbox under a sheet, and as soon as they pulled the sheet, the audience went nuts because, like, as soon as we saw a mailbox, we knew it was coming. They did this fantastic new sketch that cracked me up, which was Kevin Allison being like a football coach, and he's just up there. It starts it off by saying that all the football players are just genuine shit. They're terrible, but their asses look so good in uniform. And it just went on for way too long of him just the raunchiest, most disgusting, disturbing descriptions of all of these football players' asses in their uniforms. It was hysterical. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse until towards the end of it, he said, "Now look, I know I'm not your coach. I know you've never seen me before." It just took this whole other really weird, disturbing tone. It was fantastic. Nice. They did the blind guy at the talk show where the talk show host was just like, if I was blind, I'd try to learn how to see or something. Like, they're all just ripping into this poor guy for being blind. They did the Bearded Men of Space Station 11. They ended on Porcupine Racetrack. Some of the most interesting stuff actually came in these really cool in-between sketches. So I never knew about this show. Let me see if I can actually find make sure I'm getting the name of this right, because I had never heard of this show before, and they kept showing sequences from the shows. It was on MTV before the state.
You wrote it, you watch it?
You wrote it, yeah, you wrote it, you watch it. That's what it's called. This was a show on MTV that was hosted by Jon Stewart called You Wrote It. You said You Wrote It, You Watch It? Mm-hmm. And it was basically they would go out into the street right around the studio that we were in. They were like, we would go outside and we would interview people and have them tell us stories, and then we would act them out as sketch comedy. And the not really success of this show, because it wasn't exactly successful, but that led to the state being a show. And these sketches were absolutely hysterical. They were it's hard to put into words. It was like they would just be these just random people talking about like weird things that happen in their lives, and then the state kind of over dramatically acting them out in really goofy ways. And there was this one state sketch that had Kevin Allison. He was picked up a hitchhiker, and then he was just like completely horribly rude to her the entire ride, just talking about how he made her sick and all that, and she like fell in love with him. And that character actually came from one of these sketches where somebody was explaining like the worst first date they ever been on. Whole thing was fantastic. Nobody had missed a step. There were a few weird instances, like Kevin Allison in particular was spot on to the way he delivered every line on the show. Like, it sounded exactly the same, but like during the taco sketch, he was exactly as you remembered him. But then Michael Ian Black was a little bit more, I guess, fast. Like, he wasn't as like, Jake, I love the tacos. They're maybe the best tacos I've ever had. You know, he's so close and sincere, but he was just kind of like, he was a little bit more loud and animated about it. So It took on a kind of a different feel. It was still very funny. And the way that they had the mailman fade away was just some dude came out and like held up a curtain in front of him as he was walking away. It was so funny. And like a couple of the parts that were played by like Ben Garrett and Todd and who weren't there were just recast like Joe Latrulio would take over for Ben and several things. So like
Damn.
that was kind of weird. It was not bad, but it was just like this takes on a very different feeling. And the way that they did Doug, since Showalter wasn't there, they had this whole, like, obviously pre-planned how they'd react to it, but they pulled someone from the audience and threw a T-shirt on him and said, all right, you're Doug, here are your lines, start reading them. And every single time he even attempted to read a line, Ken Marino would freak the fuck out, just scream at him at how terrible he was. And which then transitioned to this really strange thing where Kerry Kinney was mad at him because Derek Jeter was supposedly in the audience, but he got so disgusted by this audience member's performance that he left early, and then they all ran outside to go try to catch Derek Jeter. He wasn't actually there, but it was really weird. It was hysterical. They changed up Barry and Levon's $240 worth of pudding. They came out there and they started doing it, and then they was $240 worth of reversible mortgages. And they just sexualized reversible mortgages for a while, which was fantastic. It was really quite a show. It was well worth all of the effort. It was well worth double ticket price, effectively, to just me go and have an extra seat. We all had a blast. I bought a T-shirt. I got a jump drive with all the original State things on it. Got to hang out with some friends. I saw somebody I went to high school with. I haven't seen since high school. It's, this fella named James. I haven't seen him. He used to be my next door neighbor. My sister used to babysit him. So like he was there, and it's like, oh shit, my babysitter's here. Like, it was pretty wild. So I got to see him again. No, it was just a fantastic night. And I'm looking forward to finding time to rewatching the State episodes, because having watched a handful of them off the jump drive, it's been a long time since I've watched them with the original music, and it's like I didn't realize how much those sketches lost by not having the original music in them. Like they're still funny, but there's so much of the personality of the sketch was written with that music in mind.
Right.
So like the first one that comes to mind is when the house is infested with Slash instead of mice. And
Yes.
like you watch the new one and I chuckle along to it. But as soon as I watched this one and heard all the actual Guns N' Roses music playing along with it, like November Rain and everything's like, oh my God, this was so designed for these specific songs. And like the kindergartner who was undercover was set to all the Smashing Pumpkins songs. And of course the Michael Ian Black's Pants sketch, like that sketch without Cannonball by the Breeders is half of what it was. That song is so perfect for that sketch. And that it's not there, it just changes the feeling of it so much. So I'm really looking forward to jumping into the rest of these.
That's awesome.
Rewatching them. I haven't watched the later seasons in such a long time. Like season 1, I know like the back of my hand. A lot of season 2 I do. Season 3 is like kind of wishy-washy in my head. And like I'm just really looking forward to diving into this show again and chuckling my butt off. Because it's darn funny.
It's funny, yeah. It's a great show. What's funny is I'm going to tie in real quick because we do a horror movie night here with our neighbors. My brother had come down for the weekend, and we usually do some really fucked up horror movies, like some rough stuff. But my brother wanted to do more campy stuff, and we watched the movie The Babysitter. And that movie features Ken Marino as the dad. And anytime I see Ken Marino on screen, I don't care what he's doing. I'm just like, my mood gets brightened. Because it like,
they did the Jesus. I'm gonna do that's which Louis they did. They did the Jesus one.
Okay, nice. Every time I was doing a rewatch of Veronica Mars not too long ago, and like I watched the movie, and like when that door swings open and there's Ken, like, oh, it's Ken Marino. I love Ken Marino.
Just expect to say, hey, everybody.
Yes.
I think it's worth mentioning in this whole State experience that in order to prepare for it, he threw the show on just in the background while we were doing other stuff. on the weekend, and the kids happened to wander through, right, exactly. Has the potential to go very badly, but I guess
I grabbed the remote. And
whatever it was that was on was safe, and then he proceeded to take them through a little bit of the state, and they enjoyed it because they were their parents' children.
I was I don't remember what I was doing. I was probably doing some work on my computer, and John walked in just as the Fluffy Soft ad came on. And he just was like, "What are you watching?" And I just didn't say a word. I just looked at the screen, just like, Fluffy Soft. And then the bear starts talking, and she just screams and starts beating the shit out of the bear with the iron. And John lost it. He was cracking up. He had no idea it was coming, right? Nobody did. And
nobody does.
It's just, he was not prepared for that to be that funny, and he'd lost it. And so he sat down and watched a handful of sketches, and they were, I'd skipped anything that was either so completely over their head, but like, he thought it was pretty funny. But I think that same night, actually, we wound up transitioning to some season 1 Ren and Stimpy stuff, which he absolutely loved. So that was a good time.
There's a definitive line right there between those two. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
How old is he now?
How old is he now?
Yeah.
Wait, didn't he just had a birthday?
10. He's 10. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure I was remembering that right, because wow, he's of age.
I mean, not gonna lie,
now.
I want it's. I would find it hysterical if this conversation went, he wandered into the room and then he heard, I want to dip my balls in it. And then for the rest of the weekend, he was just wandering around the house yelling like that. I would find hysterical, but not so much for you guys, because that is not that. It's borderline bad, good parenting kind of thing.
It's, I mean, and it just doesn't have. It doesn't entirely have to do with our parenting. It's just the age, because currently, although he does not know why, it is funny. His favorite number is 69 because it's a funny number.
That's a hysterical
number. YouTubers say it's very specific. It's his favorite number, and he always says nice because of YouTube. It's dipshits on YouTube.
So I recently took him with me the night that Kris was at the state. I took him with me to Ellie's cheer practice, and we were sitting in the bleachers while the girls are practicing. And we were friends with a couple of the other parents, so we were kind of sitting in a group. And he was playing something where there were 9 levels, and even after every level that he finished, it displayed the number of levels he had finished as a fraction on the screen. So he finished level 6, and up on the screen pops 6/9, and he goes, 69. Nice. And one of the other moms took a beat where she was like, God, I wish I recorded it, where first she was like, you could see her hear the joke, register oh, huh, yeah, and then register the age of the person who said it. And her face, her eyes got so big, and she looked at me, and I went, I threw my hands up in the air yeah, I don't know.
He's
what am I
advanced
supposed to do here?
I don't know what to tell you. Playa! What?
Oh my god. So funny. So inappropriate. He literally has no idea. It's a funny number. Why, John? Why is it funny? I don't know. It's just a funny number.
Oh, John.
Okay.
You sweet,
well,
innocent
you know
kid.
what? Keep that innocence. I'm not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
It's probably going to lead to a moment of embarrassment for him in the future when he finds out what it means, but I'm not going to be the one.
Yeah. And you know what? Now is the
transition.
time to show him Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh my god. 69 dudes.
Righteous. Oh, well, fantastic. Now I have Doctor Who to rewatch, and The State. The State is going to be much quicker, so I'll rewatch that. And in a mere matter of seconds, I will have the rest of that on my computer, and I will make sure that gets onto the Plex.
Glorious.
So I'll finish. I'll jump over. While we were watching our horror movie, we started to have a conversation about paranormal and ghost hunters and whatnot. And one of the neighbors had said she had just started watching this show called Encounters, and it's I'm assuming it's a 4-part miniseries. It was on Netflix, and I started watching it, and it is like real heavy documentary about like UFO sightings and whatnot, but like done super seriously. Like they're interviewing people and news, like,
as opposed to interviewing robots.
No, as opposed to 3 people wandering around the house looking at EMF meters and look at that dot in the sky, and it's horrible camera videos. And it wasn't that. It was like these people's experiences, and it's just relaying information and no silly camera footage or whatnot. But one of it's like I said, it's 4 episodes, and it's broken down from like weird topics. Like it's like the titles are Messengers, Believers, the Broadhaven Triangle, and then Lights Over Fukushima. And the Messengers was about all of the people that were interviewed or spoken to were in some way, shape, or form involved in the military. All degrees of service members. Believers was 60 kids, little kids in, I want to say, Australia, all saw the same thing, and nobody believed them for a bunch of years. This psychiatrist or psychologist went out and interviewed them individually. Like, it was really, really interesting to see and to get these interviews of these people, because these people really, really believe what they are telling us. Like, I don't have, like, whatever they saw, whatever you believe, you believe.
Yeah, like, it's not a gimmick. It's like these people they're speaking from a place of authenticity, whether it's real or not. Right.
And what I was like, one of the episodes, especially the one with the 60 kids all seeing the same thing, they interviewed a bunch of them. There was one guy who was like, no, I lied. Like, I heard them talking about it, and I said, yeah, I saw it too. Like, nobody saw anything. And then 7 other people were like, no, like, this is what we saw. This is what it looked like. This is how far away I was. And, like, it was, I mean, it felt factual, like, not silly. And it was really well done. I don't think it's changing my mind about, I think it's pretentious to think that we are alone in this universe, but I don't think they're coming here because we are kind of dumb.
Listen, babe, they've already confirmed it. Government is like, yeah, guess what, y'all? We got fucking aliens.
It's weird. I don't know. It's at some point in time.
Evan's not sold.
Yeah, I'm not, because there's okay. The best footage I've ever seen was that, what was that movie with Mel Gibson where the aliens die because they get wet? Signs. When that alien walks through the Mexican birthday party and everybody's screaming, like, I wanted that to be real. But I have been enjoying this. They're like 45-minute episodes. It's a Netflix miniseries. If you like, it's not that guy on Ancient Aliens that's going aliens. It's not that.
Was it Rachel or Daisy? One of them was like, I love that guy.
I mean, I love that guy too, because he is fucking ridiculous. But it's not that. This is more like news based, and they talk about the stigma. That's what they're going with anyway. What they're doing is they're talking about the stigma about, like, this is very possible that this is actually real. But the fact of the matter is so many years ago, we were saying, no, that's silly. You're a fool for believing that. And it's just continued that way. That if you say, I saw an alien, you're the weirdo. Like, maybe it happened. There's a lot of weird shit out there. So, if you are at all interested in that, I highly recommend it. It was an enjoyable watch. This evening, I will be watching the final episode, Lights Over Fukushima, and hopefully I'll get another season out of this, because I like seeing this side of it, not just a bunch of wacko-haired people and really bad cell phone videos of some dot in the sky. It's always out of focus. Nobody ever has a good camera. Ever. So yeah, that's that, and unfortunately, I've had Big Bang Theory on in the background a lot, which is just mindless noise.
It's really weird to me that you started doing that too, because like I've never watched the show, like not a single episode. So I'm finally experiencing.
It's not a good show. Like I'll laugh once an episode maybe, but it's also because I'm not fully paying attention to it. I don't want to put something on. Like there are shows that I want to rewatch that would be a better use of my time. This is literally just noise in the background.
Gotcha.
So.
You know, they make like white noise apps and things if you need noise. Like,
yeah,
I would prefer lots of other things to hearing the Big Bang Theory,
and
even passively.
I don't know. It's just there.
I think he likes the visual stimulus from time to time, and you know, maybe because he dislikes it.
There's a hate watch aspect of it. Like this is so silly. This is so ridiculous. How has this been on for 42 seasons? And I understand why it's been on for 42
why
seasons.
did it win so many awards too?
Well, it's the lowest common denominator. That's what it's for. And it's fish in a barrel. It's easy targets, and that's the problem. You know, the things that I laugh at is when they make fun of each other, and I look at it as friendship fun, not the geek culture or the outsiders. It's when, you know, friends are making fun of each other in a friendly manner, and that's the stuff I laugh at. Everything else it's just there and gone. So
the best description I ever heard of that show was somebody I read called it a nerd minstrel show, and I was like, oh my god, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's what it is. But that's what I got.
So Miss Angie, you finally finished something I have been waiting for you to finish.
I know. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Yeah, she did it for you.
Yeah, totally for you. Yeah. So, yeah, I finally finished Firefly Lane.
Yay!
Firefly Lane, Girls Forever.
Feelings.
Yay. Oh, my God.
Lots of feelings, lots of tears. Oh, my God.
Evan,
are you okay?
What was I like after I finished that show? Did you have any thoughts?
You were a crying mess, and I don't know why. Like,
so
that's the one with the weird laugh track on it all the time, right? Because that was a fun. No, I'm just kidding.
So I have to say, like, that show, as far as storytelling, representation of trauma, PTSD, instability, coping, just so many things that they covered on that show, I felt were handled in a way that was beautiful and explained things to people who didn't get it. My coworker and I had a conversation about this, and she was explaining how her boyfriend didn't understand certain experiences and experiences she's had and behaviors that she's exhibited. And then after watching just a couple episodes of that show with her, he started to be like, wait a second. Like, things started clicking for him that she'd tried to explain to him in the past that he just couldn't wrap his head around because it was not an experience that he could really empathize with, one of those being a traumatic situation. And the way that the show has handled so many of those things and made it something that he could be like, wait, now I get this. They were able to have conversations around it. The way that she and I could talk about this and how we related to parts of their relationship or the history or the storytelling, and asking those questions. Like, she's a mom. Like, how would she have felt if, her daughter had been in the car with an Aunt Tully, and then that whole experience of Kate getting sick and what it was like for Tully trying to be strong, and then how when Kate passed, like, she couldn't, I'm going to get emotional talking about it again. She couldn't go in for the funeral. And I remember, like, it's in no way the same, right? But I think and correct me if I'm wrong, but, I think that you have experiences on that show that you relate to that I can't. Like, when the dad passes away, when Tully died, I lost one of my best friends when I was 18 years old, and I felt like I was brought right back to the day of her funeral with this experience. And it just made me realize how raw some of that still is and how you never fully get over that. And I honestly fucking felt like I was losing her again when I was watching this show. Like when Tully breaks and she's like, I don't, like when she finally tells Kate, like, I don't know how to be without you. I don't know I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. Like, I said words, and I remember saying words very similar to that when she died, because that was, I mean, she was a huge part of who I was. And I haven't seen a show that could express the feelings that I had and make me relive those feelings in such an exact way since the day that I lost her, you know? So, I mean, it's been almost 20 years. It's been 18 years, and I still feel the same shit. Like, holy crap, that's powerful. So I think that this is one of the best shows I've ever watched. I really do. And I think the fluidity of the cycle of their life, how in the early flashbacks when they're when they're Firefly Lane girls, to when they're at the news station, to the present day in the story, the way that they would have all of these parallels, everything was similar but different, but the message was always the same. And I really, like, I've seen moments like that in my own life when I'm reflecting, and I just think that this is some of the most thoughtful storytelling. And it's so beautifully fluid, and in ways that I think that when we get older, we forget how much there is still that young person inside of us and how that affects us. So, yeah, I honestly, like, I could weep right now with how much I love this show.
Aww. Well, now I feel a little bad for, like, being so insistent that you finish and, like, please expose yourself to more trauma. Open up old, like, vulnerabilities you didn't know that were still there.
Right? But I think that was what made it so special, honestly, is knowing that I could, there's something that I think, at least for women who are watching this, you know, female identifying people, or people who can just relate to some part of this show. Like I said, I can't relate about losing a parent, but I can certainly relate about losing a best friend. And I think that the conversations that it sparked, and like I said, the insight that it gave me into my own experience and things that I may not have still dealt with, I really appreciate that this show could give me that, because it still wrapped it all up with a bow full of love. Like,
Oh.
So
I agree.
And Johnny, when he was like trying to be there for Kate, and she's like, okay, we're going to plan my funeral now. And he's like, okay. Like, oh my God. He's so good.
Yes, Johnny is goals.
Yeah.
So it was based on a book that was written by Kristen Hanna.
Yes.
And I've read a few other of her books, like, without, like, realizing at the time, maybe at the outset, that it was like, it's the same person. And everything that I've read by her is very different in the terms of the story that it tells, but very, very similar in the themes of, like, you know, strong female bonds, be it friendship, family, whatever.
Yeah.
But Kristen Hanna, amazing writer, and if you haven't, I suggest you go check all her books out of the library, or buy them if you have that privilege.
I don't, but no, libraries are great. We do have some good used bookstores in town, so I'll definitely do some hunting. But
also, I don't know if you or any of our listeners have heard of a site called Thrift Books.
Yes,
thriftbooks.com, but you can buy used books on there for sometimes a fraction of how you can get them new, and you're, you know, saving the earth by not printing another book. So there's that. That's usually where I go if I, like, have to own a physical copy of a book. I'll see if Thrift Books has it first.
I love that. Yeah, do that, people. But yeah, I've also heard for some people that have watched the show that wanted to go read the book and see what the differences were. They were so true to the content that it's like almost identical, which I thought was really interesting. So I'm curious, like, I may at some point pick it up. I want to give it a little time so some of it fades.
Sure.
But, oh, man. And Cloud. Let's just talk about Cloud for a second.
Oh, Cloud.
Wow. She really fucking pulled it together, man. Especially at the end when she's giving, I want to say Kate's mom, because I always forget her actual name. But when she's giving her advice and then the mom turns to her and she's like, I never thought Cloud would be the person giving me advice right now. And I'm like, right? Like, agreed.
Yeah, that woman went on a journey.
Yeah. There was also, it's been a while since we talked about this, but again, like good conversation pieces. Sean, the brother, his coming out experience and his story. When the parents said to him, well, we always just kind of knew. And then he's like, really? Because I had to live in a closet full of shame. And somebody made a point to me when I was talking about it, again, really great conversations, that said that their experience was very similar. And they were so angry when they came out because they were like, if you knew that, then why the fuck didn't you have a conversation with me and make it a safe space, right? So things that were being dealt with in such a way that, again, I just think there's a lot of thoughtfulness that went into the show and a lot of things that people are like, oh, like the person who was watching that was talking to me about this was like, I didn't even realize that, like, that's why I had so much anger until somebody else in this show articulated my experiences coming out as a queer person. So again, like really just beautiful things. And I think that their friendship is the kind of friendship that a lot of people hope for and strive for. And I think that it's great that anybody is able to make a show that really captures how powerful and magical and complicated that can be.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, the fact that how much their friendship changed over time, the challenges they went through, the things where, you think that it's something that you could never forgive, but then in the end it turns out the pain of not forgiving that person is worse than the pain of the betrayal or whatever it was that caused it. So
yeah. I mean, and like I have to also laugh because Evan has a gift for every time he walks into the room, regardless of what the show is, somebody has sex. It's like he manifests
every time.
It's kind of crazy. So I just wanted to call that out because well done, babe. You did it.
I mean, every time. I don't know.
The only thing that bothered me in that entire show was it was like right after she and Johnny had sex that she realized that, like, that she had the rash that ended up being the cancer. Mm-hmm. It was like nobody was going to say anything about it, like, during. Mm-hmm. Like, you guys start, she takes off her shirt, and you're like, whoa, maybe we should, like, check this out.
Yeah, like, maybe that should be a conversation. Yeah, nobody's that oblivious, I don't think. I mean, boys, you can chime in on that if you'd like, but I don't know.
I mean, boobs are great and all, but if one looked, as different as it looked in the show, you would say something, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So, Evan, do you happen to have this power for other shows? Because
yes,
I feel like that could be pretty interesting and dangerous if you walk in and are watching The Price is Right.
It's not that I generate the sex show or the sex scene. If there happens to be a sex scene in the show at some point in time, and it's not a show that I'm actively watching, if you're watching it and I walk into the room, that will be the scene that is happening. So it's not like we can be watching, I don't know, fucking Ahsoka, and I walk in and all of a sudden,
That's what I'm saying.
No, it's not like that.
You're like...
It's not a causality.
All right. Well, she's watching
that
Jeopardy.
Would be awesome. Or
Walks
horrible.
on into the room.
I mean, I would be very curious to see where that goes. Like, because then really, who's winning? yeah, so that I am so excited that I was able to get through that whole show. I'm really glad that Tully came back. I'm glad that they repaired their friendship, and I'm glad that that show exists because it was like really, really beautiful. And yeah, holy shit!
Yay!
Still
I'm glad you
fucking
finished it too.
Yeah, definitely one I'll do some rewatching of for sure.
All right, well, let me wrap this whole thing up. I watched a show called The Other Black Girl, which is on Hulu. I didn't really know a lot about it going into it. I just, was kind of at a loss for something to watch. I had heard this was good, and I didn't really hear anything else about it other than that. And assuming by the name, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be some kind of like social commentary drama show about, racism and modern society or whatever. It was more than I bargained for, you guys. So it's about this woman, this young black woman who works at a book publishing house that she's like an assistant, and everybody there is like she's the only black girl, and then they hire another assistant who is also black. So like to each other, they're like, oh, you're the other black girl. So that's like the service meeting of the title. And like they become friends, but like also some weird things. It's tonally weird for the beginning of the show. And the more things go on and things happen, the new girl who comes along, she starts to like just kind of go out of her way to like make things happen in Nella, who is the protagonist, in her career, like make good things happen for her with like to a degree that it's like, this is kind of creepy. Like, what's going on? And then like halfway through the show, and they go through a back and forth where, there's never anything proved. There's never any like real hard evidence that anything is going on. Everything could be explained away. Nella's best friend is an eyebrow artist named Malika, who is like she's like the person who makes it to the end of the horror movie because she's like, oh hell no, this is like something sketchy's going on. And then she has a white boyfriend, and the boyfriend is like, well, maybe she's just extra nice. Like,
nope.
So halfway through the show, the new girl, Hazel, invites Nella to this hair party where they're all going to do each other's hair with some of Hazel's other friends. And she comes in and they're all like these really accomplished, like exceptional, Nella ends up describing them as like fembot type women. They're like, very successful in their career, very young, and like it's just kind of weird. And then somebody else shows up at the party, and it's someone who Malika knew, and she has gone through like a great transformation. Like when Malika knew her, they fought all the time, and she was crazy and like acted out and did all this stuff. And now she's just like one of the fembots, like super professional and polished and all. So they're very suspicious of all this. And they snoop around her place and find some papers that show that Nella is the subject of the involuntary subject of like some kind of study or something, some kind of weird project. It really just goes like where you don't expect it to go.
Yeah,
so,
I thought this was going to be a show about stalking. Like, this is wild.
It ends up that, I mean, I don't want to give everything away in the show, but it ends up that Hazel is involved in an organization that is attempting to elevate black women to positions of power in order to enact radical social justice change, racial equity, that kind of thing. But the way that they go about it is super duper sketch. They're like basically taking these women who have potential and then like kind of doing what they do to place them in opportune positions. And then, you know, this is their whole plan. This is how they're going to change the world. So it's like the motives are amazing and excellent, but the way they're going about it is super duper sketch.
Kind of iffy.
And like, you know, the women who end up getting transformed like kind of don't have a say. Like, you know, it's kind of like the trickster in a story who is like, I can offer you everything you ever wanted, but then like, you know, there's a twist or you like give up the person that you used to be in order to become exactly like your soul is given up. So
love that.
Super duper interesting. All the performances are great. By like the 4th episode, I was like, oh, I want to know what happens next. And there's 10 episodes and they're half-hour episodes. And I hope there's a season 2, because where they left it, like, there's definitely room for more story.
Oh, so like you did watch all 10 episodes. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was like, when I was trying to pick which show to talk about tonight, I was like, no, I finished that show. Like, that's what I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. Because I think if you had like only seen a few episodes of this, you would have a completely different opinion of it. You'd be like, something's going on, but I don't quite know, and I hope it goes somewhere. But like, no, having seen the whole thing, I'm like, this is kind of awesome, like twisted and weird, and definitely not my normal kind of thing. Because I'm normally like, I need feel good, happy, comfort food stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, aside from this, all I've been watching is Downton Abbey and Bake Off.
Nice.
To give a little contrast. But yeah, the other black girl is very interesting, very cool, very well done. So, highly recommend, I guess.
Sounds wild.
Go.
Anyway, I think we should take a break, and then when we come back, it's time for Doctor Whoing all over the place.
Oh, boy.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Kris here. Podcast listening is free, but podcast creation is not. That's why the Geekade Patreon exists. In an effort to help us pay the bills, we've got a Patreon page set up where you can gain access to our monthly podcast topic schedule, get early access to many of our shows, and more. If you'd like to help support Geekade and keep these shows running week after week, head over to the Geekade Patreon page, linked in the show notes of this very podcast.
We are Safe at Home, the leading dog rescue in the heart of New Jersey. Are you searching for a loyal companion, a dog that will bring love and joy to your home? Look no further than Safe at Home. At Safe at Home, we believe in giving every dog a second chance. We rescue, rehabilitate, and find loving forever homes for dogs in need, right here in the Garden State. Our dogs are ready to make a lasting impact on your life. Each one has a unique story, a wagging tail, and an incredible capacity for love. When you adopt from Safe at Home, you're not just gaining a pet, you're becoming a part of our family. Our dedicated team ensures a seamless adoption process, providing ongoing support and guidance. With New Jersey's beautiful parks, beaches, and trails, you and your new furry friend will have endless opportunities for adventures and cherished memories. Safe at Home relies on the support of compassionate individuals like you. Your donations and volunteer work enable us to continue saving lives and finding forever homes for these amazing dogs. Join us in creating a safer, happier community for dogs in New Jersey. Together we can make a difference and give every dog the chance to feel safe at home. Visit our website or call us now to learn about how you can be a part of the Safe at Home mission. Safe at Home, because every dog deserves to be loved and protected. www.safeathomerescue.org.
And we are back. Thanks for checking out our commercial. So, Doctor Who, famously one of the longest-running TV shows in history, beginning on the BBC in 1963 and running until 1989 in an era we now call Classic Who, after a 16-year hiatus that I call the Dark Times. The BBC brought the show back in 2005, beginning the era of New Who. So tonight's episode is the finale of Season 5 of New Who, the first season that featured Matt Smith's 11th Doctor, as well as his companions Amy Pond, played by Karen Gillan of Guardians of the Galaxy fame, and Rory Williams, played by Arthur Darvill. This episode also features repeat guest star Alex Kingston as River Song, who, if you don't know, is sort of a mysterious stranger who knows more about the Doctor than he knows about her at this point, when we don't know why. Of course, we'll find out lots more about River in Season 6, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
And she's a bombshell.
The Big Bang is the second part of a two-parter. The first part's called The Pandorica Opens. That was not the homework assignment, but we all watched it, so I'll just say quickly
about that too. Yeah.
That the Doctor comes to stumble upon the Pandorica, which is a legendary prison built to trap the most dangerous creature in all of time and space. And the whole episode, he's trying to figure out who built it, where did it come from, who's trapped in there, and why doesn't he know about it. And then it turns out at the end of the episode that it was built by all of his enemies working together in order to imprison him, because he is the greatest danger to the universe.
I mean, that tracks. That makes sense.
Well, when you look at it from a certain point of view.
Yes.
But it's because there's been this this prophecy about his TARDIS exploding and destroying the entire universe, and they then ascribe the fault to him because he's the only one who can fly the TARDIS, so he must have been the one. So if they lock him up, it won't happen. Except it does happen. So in the second half, in the of the two-parter, the Doctor, despite the very typical impossible circumstances, attempts to avert the end of the universe. There's so much I love about this episode. I could go on for about 8 hours about everything I love about this episode, but I don't think we should do that. I think I should first find out, how did you guys feel about revisiting this episode / both of these episodes?
No, I say go for it. Evan loves editing long podcasts.
Well, it's not about that. It's about like not being able to upload it because there is a limit, but still, it's fine. Gotta just lower the quality of audio. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
In all my copious spare time, I will just go on like a 15-hour rant about these two specific episodes.
Deep thoughts with Karen.
I mean, all right, episode 12 had one of the most baller Doctor Who Doctor moments I can remember in all of the Doctor Who's, where he's standing on that rock yelling, in essence, into a megaphone at everybody's like, bring it, motherfuckers. And they left. They're like, that's right. You know who this is. Gets to step in. He is such a badass. And I don't remember, I didn't remember this episode in its entirety. I remembered bits of it. My brain told me that when that box opened, there was a Dalek inside of it. And it wasn't. It was because when that box opened, the first thing you saw was a Dalek. He was outside of it, though. I was like, right. That made sense. This show, these two episodes made me want to do a rewatch. That's the best thing I can say, because he is, Matt Smith wasn't my favorite Doctor, but there was nothing bad about this episode at all.
He's so fucking charismatic.
He is. He is.
He has 110% charisma.
So I'm going to be honest, I hated Matt Smith as a Doctor. But
that's why we're not friends anymore. But
click.
I'm revisiting this now with a different perspective. So when I first saw Matt Smith, it was coming right off of Tennant, and I had gotten so attached to him. Now, again, I know a lot of people also had that experience, but I think maybe for others who had watched original or classic Who, maybe it wasn't so hard for them to have those transitions, because, like, I thought Kris Eccleston was great. He was a wonderful doctor. Like, I really appreciated what he brought to the character, and I had never seen classic Who, so that was my first doctor experience, and then Tennant, like, stole my heart, and we spent a lot of time with him, so when it switched to Matt Smith, I was like, that's not my doctor. No, I don't like him. And I remember thinking, like, this season, I remember liking where the story was going here and then hating seasons 6 and 7. I don't know why anymore. I feel like Evan and I talked about it after we watched the episode, and from what I could recall, it's something about feelings of, like, regurgitating the same thing. Like, the Bad Wolf story arc, which I don't want to say too much about because Evan's going to do a rewatch and he doesn't really remember all of it.
I don't remember any of it.
Okay, so
Doctor Who is completely out of my head.
Yeah.
So
a thing I will never, ever say.
Well, like, you spent a lot more time with it than I did. Or I have.
Right.
So
for me, like, going back and watching this and not, like, feeling the same way that I did the last time I was watching Who was kind of a breath of fresh air. Like, I was way more open to him as a character. I really got engaged with what was happening. After the first episode was over, I really wanted to see the second part. Like, and I knew some of it. Like, I remembered the whole thing about the girl who waited and the boy who waited and him being a centurion. And, like, there was definitely a lot of stuff that I could still recall, but a lot of stuff that I couldn't. And I really, really enjoyed this episode. I think I think I did Matt Smith dirty, and I'm going to give him a chance. I told Evan if he's doing a rewatch, I kind of want to do one, but I want to start with Matt Smith, because I quite literally, I dropped Doctor Who after his episodes. Like, I was really just over this show.
A lot of the Matt Smith, I have to interject a couple of things.
Okay.
I can say from experience that Karen experienced something similar to you. I remember when David Tennant regenerated and we were watching it together, and she was rather apprehensive about Matt Smith, but it didn't take that long for him to win her over. But I remember watching it and, like, being like, all right, let's do it. And then, like, we did it, and it was took a minute. But
it was underwhelming.
That I remember that
I was
happening.
never going to not watch Doctor Who.
Exactly. And, like, I mean, I definitely, I was a little bit more open to it because I started with Eccleston, so it was just kind of like, I don't know, it just seemed like, well, this is just a thing that happens. And yeah, I was really attached to David Tennant, but I was just really curious to see what this new guy had to offer. Man, I had a second point. What did you just say before? I just totally lost my train of thought.
I felt like they regurgitated the story for
Moffating.
Oh yeah, this was very Moffat-y. This was.
Yeah. So when you were saying, like, I had a memory of not liking it, I was like, I have a theory about why you. So this whole, especially this episode, but the whole season, is like the rebooting of the universe and the light from the TARDIS and flying the Pandorica into the explosion is the most fucking wibbly wobbly timey wimey shit ever.
Yes.
It
does not make sense.
Like, maybe too wibbly wobbly timey
Stop
wimey.
it. Yes, it does.
But it makes
if you take the
enough
magic
sense.
box and you put it with the other magic box, it makes magic stuff. Come on now.
It doesn't make sense in the way that it's okay not to make sense for me. I can acknowledge that people don't like Moffat, people don't like Matt Smith because he's so goofy, because, like, the stories are so over the top, outlandish, high stakes, and that's eventually why people lost patience with Moffat, is because, you know, I don't think this was his first season as showrunner, but this was Matt Smith's first season, and the stakes could not have been any higher by the end of this season. And then the next season, somehow they got even higher. And the next season, even higher than that. And they still kept getting out of it. And they still kept getting out of it. It was like, okay, Moffat, you've lost your mind. There's only so much suspension of belief we can swallow, or suspension of disbelief we can swallow. And at this point, it was like not too much for me, or I think to expect of other people. This is Moffat at his best, in my opinion.
Yeah, this was I completely agree. This was such a great high point, and then after this was the time to rein it back in. After this was like this was Endgame, you know?
Yeah.
this was it. And then he just like, no, I can go crazier. I can get crazier than this. And he just kept getting crazier, and it just
hold my beer.
It was exhausting. The show became exhausting. And then after, what was it? Chibnall took over after Moffat.
Yeah.
And like, I thought it started out pretty good, but then it, just got on a ski slope. For me personally, just like an elevator had the wires cut and just went down and down and down and down, and got so much. It felt, going back to this was like, oh right, this show used to be really freaking fun. And I'm not going to say I disliked the newer Doctor Who stuff, but goodness gracious, like, it was fun to go back and remember just why I liked this show so much to begin with, because this was extremely fun. It's so wild, just a lot of the shots during the episode, like, holy shit, Matt Smith was young. He's so young.
So young.
He's such a
baby
young
through
dude.
most of this episode.
Yeah.
Like, because, we recently saw him in, the House of the Dragon, and, like, I don't feel like he's gotten a lot older, but then I look at this and, like, oh my god, he's a baby.
He was a baby.
But, yeah, I love this episode. I love this show. I don't really have anything
There's
else to
so
say.
many, like, I feel like key moments that are, like, really memorable about Doctor Who, and especially the Matt Smith era, happened in these 2 episodes. And like, I remembered the boy who waited, the girl who waited, like, I remembered those things after only watching this show once, and I'm like, oh, I remember Rory. Like, I knew that was coming. And the way this story flows shows so much depth to all of these characters, because it shows that, like, the emotional ties that they all have, Amy and the Doctor, and Rory and Amy, and Rory and the Doctor, like, that first communication where Robo Rory is back, and the Doctor is talking to him and not acknowledging the fact that he shouldn't exist. Like, that goes on for like 6 beats, and you're waiting for it to happen, but it didn't feel drawn out. It didn't feel like a weak ploy kind of thing. Like, it made sense because that Doctor is so scattered and whatnot and all over the place. But he got to it. Like, he went, wait, like, that shows the relationship. And when the ring and go get her, like, that stuff just, I don't remember Rory being that big of a deal, but like, you could see that he was important to the overall camaraderie of the group kind of thing.
Didn't Amy, like, kind of pine after the Doctor at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like it was...
They did try to put him in the middle of their relationship for far too long, in my opinion.
I mean, like, it was weird that at the wedding, she's like, yeah, you could definitely kiss the bride. Like, that...
Yeah, I was
that
like,
was weird.
girl, what? Like... Put that
But
away.
hey,
Put that away.
and what can you say about River? Like,
Oh my god, I love her so much.
she is amazing. And I'm not going to lie, like, at one point in time, like, I think it was when they kept rewinding her opening the door over and like saying, I'm sorry, sweetie.
I'm sorry, my love.
Or so, yeah, that's it. Over and over, and I turned to Angela like, how many times have you checked out her ass? She's like, every time. I'm like, I have too.
Not sorry.
Nope.
This is
These women
another
deserved
this episode is another great thing about it is that it features River kind of at her best. There came a point where it like the whole river thing was like a bridge too far. But right in this moment where like she knows the most about him at this point, and he knows not nothing, but relatively little, and is like excited and intrigued and like in a way that it surprises even himself. It's just really fun to watch. And Alex fucking Kingston's performance, it died. Like, oh, what happened to the Dalek? It died. I love you, Alex Kingston. And she can do this and Shakespeare. She's fucking Superwoman.
And ER.
And ER, but, you know, whatever.
Well, she was also on a show that was terrible, so I'm glad that she is so good in so many other things, because she was great on that show, but the show itself was not.
What show? What show?
The Witches, I think it was. Whatever, that one with...
Discovery of Witches?
Discovery of Witches, yeah.
Yeah, she was
sucks.
That was not great when she was in that.
She was great. She was still great. But the rest of that show, not so much.
Boom, boom, boom. Aww.
Yeah, this, like you've been saying, just this is Stephen Moffat playing chess while the rest of us are playing checkers. The whole rewind at the end, just incorporating different aspects of the season that, like, you can see the seeds were planted all the way along.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you go back talking to her on the logs in the forest, like that was some mind blowing stuff right there.
But that's what Bad Wolf felt like for me, and so I feel like, again, you know what? Never mind. I don't want to rewind anything.
I'm sorry. I liked it when the Doctor, bounced back and forth in time to set the plan in motion.
Yeah.
In
with the
one,
mop
like
and the
you
fez
saw it
on his
happen at the
head,
beginning, and then he did it again. But like he kept, wait, no, I got to do that, and like I like it when shit like that happens. Like, why did he keep leaving the first time? Oh, that's why, because he's having a whole nother conversation in another set of time. Got it.
Yeah, this episode contains a lot of iconic, like, hilarity, the shenanigans with the vortex manipulator, and the drunken giraffe dance at the end at the wedding. I love the drunken giraffe.
That was amazing.
Wait, is that a real dance?
That's the name of the dance.
That's so good.
And somewhere in some Doctor Who book somewhere, there are, like, published instructions on how to do it.
Of course there are. Of course there are.
Of course there are.
I love this.
It features my favorite piece of Doctor Who music, which is I Am the Doctor by Murray Gold. It's that dun 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 dun. It's so exciting when that music starts playing. You know something awesome is going to happen.
Something's gonna happen.
And it has the fez.
Yeah.
Do you guys know the story about the fez and the creation of the fez?
No.
So there's this famous anecdote of one of the producers of the show is being interviewed, and she says that I copied and pasted it after I found it. She says, Stephen mentioned the fez to Piers and I, Piers is the writer, before he even wrote it. He said, I'm thinking of putting Matt in a fez in episode 13. And of course, Piers and my jaw hit the floor and went, a fez? You're kidding me. You're going to put Matt in a fez? If we put Matt in a fez, Matt will never take the fez off. He'll want to wear the fez for the whole of the next series. It will be glued to his head. He'll be wearing it, with his own clothes. It'll be a nightmare. And Stephen Moffat said, no, I've got a cunning plan. As soon as he's got the fez, I'm going to kill the fez.
That's phenomenal.
I just love that. I like that they knew their own show and their actor that well that it was like, okay, we can do this, but this is the only way we can do this.
So was that the only appearance of the fez?
Yes and no. The fez came back with the 13th Doctor with Jodie Whittaker.
Okay, so no. With Matt Smith, like that.
Yes, that's
the
only appearance of the fez.
I really felt that the fez played more of a
Stuck
role.
around longer.
Yeah.
Nope. The fez gets destroyed, and then when he comes back at the end where you're like, oh, I escaped. I love it when I do that. And he's like checking everything out, and he's like, oh, fez. I can buy a new fez. And it's a throwaway line, but 2 doctors later, there's an episode where the fez that he ordered shows up.
Awesome.
It's amazing.
I wear fezzes now. Fezzes are cool.
Fezzes are cool. So yeah. Oh, just like something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue.
That
the
was
way that they
great.
bookend the series with, that was Amy's wedding at the start, at the beginning where she ran away. And then it's Amy's, when they finally get to the wedding at the end of the season, and it's bookended, and then they incorporated that whole, like, wedding tradition into, like, Doctor Who lore. I'm like, how did you fucking do that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love this episode.
Some of the, like, when, like, the whole crying scenes that she does, like, both sad and, like, those were, like, super moving. Like, you're crying. Like, I think it's because I'm really happy. Why am I crying? Like, that is, like...
Sometimes I wonder if they, like, before they did those scenes, did they just, like, put a little eyedropper on her face? Because I was, like, she
it's
just,
always
like...
it starts with a single.
It
like,
was, yeah, like, it was
she's good
so
at it.
good.
Yeah.
So good.
Great episodes. Great show. Good pick. Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome. And I just do want to acknowledge again for the haters out there that, like, your criticisms are not unfounded. Matt Smith is ridiculous. Stephen Moffat is out of control. But I think at this point in the series, both of those things are well enough reined in that
manageable
it's
enough.
It's used to advantage rather than to disadvantage.
And I would say, again, having space from the show, I'm not as, like, butthurt about, like, losing Tennant. Like, I think it now is a good time for me to give it a chance.
Listen,
again.
we all love Tennant. He's the longest reigning Doctor in New Who, and he's coming back next month. Next month, people. Next month. I say this only because I've been waiting for, like, a year and a fucking half for this shit.
When is he coming back again?
Next month.
Oh.
Wait, sorry, didn't catch that.
How about what? How long has it been since there has been New Who?
Seriously, like 18 months. Like, I can't remember. I just remember when the series ended, or when the last special aired, I was like, it was the spring of last year, I feel like. And they were like, he'll be back in the 60th anniversary special. And I'm like, but that's next November. What the fuck?
We're supposed to be getting a new Doctor.
Correct.
Ish. Right?
First, we're going to have David Tennant for, I think, 3 specials. And then he's going to regenerate into a new guy.
We're not getting a New Who till, I don't know what, 2028? Right? That's what? 3 specials and a movie?
So I am excited, too,
Only
to see
this show could do it. Only Doctor Who could make you wait that long.
And then say thank you. Like,
I lived through the hiatus, all right? Like, in real time.
That's right. You were a Whovian before New Who. So
correct, and there was no such thing as a reboot or a remake when it went away. There was no hope. It was just like, it's over. And then it was like, oh wait, let's make a TV movie that's terrible. But we love it anyway because it's Doctor Who.
Cleaning up the Doctor Who episodes of the first run for you to make sure like everything was there and whatnot. It is wild how different the presentation of Doctor Who was then in comparison to now. Like multiple episodes for the same storyline, shorter, like it was a completely different thing.
Yeah, the episodes were typically 4 to 6 parts, but not standard enough that you could say, oh, it's always going to be 6 parts.
Right. Like it was all over the place. And it's wild that it got so.
It's the BBC. They can do whatever the fuck they want. And they did. It's the same reason now that they can make 6 episodes of something and call it a season. The audacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they do good stuff.
Well, I mean, that's unfortunately.
They do.
That's more commonplace now because of fucking TV.
Also, writer's strike.
I don't know what show there's a show that I want to watch, and the Continental, the new John Wick miniseries.
John Wick thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's only 3 episodes. They're an hour and a half plus each. I'm like, that's not a TV show. That's 3 movies. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's because now movies are like 5 hours.
Which is also ridiculous.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Right? Want to watch a movie? Take your whole day away.
We had a very serious discussion about who we liked as companions. And, man, I got really angry over that. What was that
Clara.
girl? Clara. Oh, my God. I do not like Clara at all. She became way too important. Way too quickly.
She's unpopular. She's very divisive, I should say. Some people are like, oh my God, she's the best companion there ever was.
Nope.
And some people are like, and then there's people who are right, who don't like her.
I'm proud to be part of that camp.
I liked her. I thought like the actress was great.
Yeah, just the way her story went.
I just that whole chunk of Doctor Who is like,
tiresome.
I love Peter Capaldi. He deserved so much better
So did
material
Jodie.
to work with. And what was that?
So did Jodie.
So did Jodie. Yeah, oh for sure. That's like feel like that's on a whole different level right there.
Right on.
But both Capaldi and Jenna Coleman, I feel like they both deserved better. Like when Jenna Coleman first shows up and interacts with Matt Smith's Doctor, is like it's pretty great. And I really liked a lot of the ideas that were at play there. Like when Peter Capaldi showed up and she didn't like him anymore, she basically had Angie's reaction. It was like, you're not him. You're not my doctor. Fuck off. And there were a lot of neat ideas at play. And man, when they shined, they did a really great job. But
sometimes they did not shine.
Sometimes they did not shine. Sometimes it was just uncomfortable. And
well, if you don't know, when Doctor Who returns, it will be under the leadership of the original showrunner, Russell T Davies.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll all find out, who those of us who are interested anyway, we'll find out very shortly whether the magic can be brought back. But
how long was Davies doing it for before moffating all over the place?
I feel like he did 4 seasons, but I could be wrong. It could have been 3.
Yeah, he was definitely in the Tennant era.
Thank you all for humoring me and all my Doctor Who-ness. I believe that it is about time for Christopher to give his spiel.
This week's episode is not filmed before a live studio audience, but it is fueled by feedback from listeners like you. You can get in touch with us in a multitude of ways. We have an official Geekade Discord where there's an entire This Week's Episode channel dedicated to all things TV talk, and of course the regular Geekade social media accounts linked to in the show notes. The 4 of us can be found in various ways. I'm available on Twitter at Geekade Kris, that's Geekade Kris, and you can read my work at StoneAgeGamer.com and in the pages of Nintendo Force magazine. Karen, where can people find you?
At STM Stitches on Facebook, Instagram, Etsy, and TikTok.
Angie, where can people find you?
Go to my website, nerds. It's www.angelafernaut.com, and it'll take you to all of the other things that I do.
And Evan, what about you?
TalesOfCapeFear.com. Boom.
Goodness gracious, excuse me.
Are you okay?
If you need to know, I'm just choking on spit here like some kind of goon. If you need to know more about the shows we discussed tonight or what we'll be watching in the future, have a look at our show notes. And if you have any other questions at all, we can always be reached at mail@geekade.com. Just include the words "this week's episode" in the subject line so we know who you're trying to reach. This show is available anywhere fine podcasts are sold, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and more. And wherever you decide to listen, please like, comment, subscribe, and leave reviews because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. Again, as always, keep your eyes on geekade.com for more fresh, original content. Karen, back to you.
Thank you so much. So I believe our next chooser is Angie, and that was a surprise to her 2 hours ago, so maybe she's come up with something. Let's see,
What are you talking
Angie?
about? What? I was not surprised at all.
Super prepared.
I was so prepared. Do you know how prepared I was?
Still not ready. Still
prepared?
dragging out
No,
time because
actually,
she's still...
No. This is, again, happy birthday, Karen. My pick is Good Omens Season 2, Episode 1.
Yay! Thank you. More tenants. That is something I can get behind. And interestingly, by the time we record the next episode, one of my friends for my birthday gave me tickets to see Neil Gaiman talk.
What?
So that will have happened by the time we record the next episode. So maybe I'll have some little interesting tidbits to add.
The ramblings of a madman.
That's really cool. Well, I will be honest. I wasn't I just haven't been making a ton of time for television, and I felt like I wanted to be intentional about when I watched Good Omens. I didn't realize that the universe was setting me up for such success.
There it is.
Very
Perfect.
excited.
All right. Well, we will see all of you back here, same bat time, same bat channel for this week's episode. That's all for us tonight. Good night.
Really? Okay.
No saying goodbye from
Bye.
us.
Oh, I forgot the thing that we do.
We're just
I
steamrolling right
fucked
over
it up real bad.
Nah. That's it. Goodbye.
I'm
Game
out.
Oh my god. This is why you write a full script and don't just give up at the end. From all
She's
of us
Angie.
at this week's episode, I'm Karen.
I'm Angie.
I'm Evan.
I am talking!
Good night.
And this concludes our broadcast day.